Today we're going to review the most popular AI side hustles to find out if any of them are actually worth starting. We're going to review these side hustles and assess how simple they are, how likely they are to be profitable, how well they use AI, and check they actually work to make sure they're not just straight up scams. To give you some context, I've been making digital products for about 10 years now, and my job is basically to use technology to help launch new businesses. So when I saw these videos claiming you can make tens of thousands of dollars easily by using AI, I had to check them out and see if they were actually possible. So first on the list, we have business cards. For each of these, we're going to look at the potential profitability, and then we'll talk about the simplicity and AI usage. So when I looked at these, the first thing that jumped out at me is there's a lot of money to be made here. Despite us living in a very digital world, there's still good demand for business cards, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So the first thing I did is I went to Etsy to try and get a realistic estimate of how much money you can actually make here. You can see that the prices for digital template downloads range from $2 to $7, and the biggest seller I found had made over 50,000 sales, bringing their sales to something like $200,000. Obviously most sellers are smaller than this, but it shows there's definitely a market here. Now in terms of simplicity and AI usage, this is where things get a little bit stickier. If you're already good at graphics, then this is super simple. But if you're not, there's going to be a relatively steep learning curve, and on top of that, beyond providing some inspiration and individual assets, AI isn't really doing anything for you here. You could just as easily look online for inspiration and download similar assets from one of the many sites that are specifically designed for this already. So in terms of ratings, I'm going to give profitability a 6 out of 10, as there's definitely a good margin here in market size. Simplicity, I'm giving a 5 out of 10, as it's very easy if you have some graphics experience, but it's trickier if you have none at all. And finally, I'm going to give AI usage a 1 out of 10, as it's really not using AI for anything unique. Overall, this gets a 4 out of 10. Is it a decent side hustle? Sure. Is it a real AI side hustle? Not really. Okay, let's move on. The next side hustle is creating online clip art. This one honestly surprised me the most. I was really dubious about this one when I went into it and couldn't believe that anyone actually bought these, but boy was I wrong. If you look at this example here, all these watercolor clip art designs could be fully created with AI, and they've made 2,296 sales at around $2 each, bringing their estimated earnings to just shy of $5,000. Here's another, selling different packs of clip art and having generated 2,914 sales, this time at an average price of $6, which brings their estimated earnings to about $20,000. So I was pleasantly surprised about this one in terms of its profitability. It's all digital, so there's great margin, and there's clearly a demand. What also struck me was that while the examples I've seen in videos are cute cartoony style images, there are loads of sales for watercolor designs and lots of other styles too. In terms of simplicity, it couldn't be easier. You can literally copy a title of a pack, add the phrase no background to your prompt, and start creating super simple designs instantly. I tried watercolor woodland animals and watercolor spring baby animals, and I think the results were super comparable to what's out there already. To make this work, all you're going to need to do is generate lots of designs, use any free online tool to cut them out, and list your packs. It really couldn't be much simpler. It's also massively utilizing AI, as otherwise you'd need to draw these all yourself, which is basically impossible unless you're already a really good artist. In terms of scores, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10 for profitability. The margin is great, and there's good demand. It might just be harder to get repeat customers for this kind of product. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 for simplicity, as other than cutting out the background and doing some research, there's really not much to do here. Finally, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for AI usage, as it's using the output from Midjourney almost directly. Overall, it gets an 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend this one as an option if you've not got a huge amount of art or graphics experience and want to try something simple. On to the next side hustle, which is logos. Now obviously making logo designs is a huge market. You can even see here that this professional logo pack is $142, so they're a much higher ticket item, and you can see that they're still pretty simple style. The main problem with this one is that I just don't think it's going to work. There's two flaws in the logic here that I think people have overlooked when considering this as an option. Firstly is the image format. All professional logos are usually provided in a vector format, which is a lossless image format that lets the client make the image as big or as small as they'd like. This is completely different to the pixel-based files that Midjourney creates, and it's really not very easy to convert a pixel-based image to a vector-based image. So you're going to end up with lots of angry customers if you sell them these. Equally, when you create a logo, the first thing you usually get back from a client is requests for modifications. You can even see in the reviews here that the customers are talking about the modifications this seller provides. You can't really do this easily in Midjourney, so I think the actual selling process here is going to be painful all round. And finally, all logos need text, which Midjourney just doesn't create properly. So at a minimum, you're going to need to add this after. So this one's definitely profitable, but isn't very simple and doesn't use AI particularly well. Can you use AI to speed up your process and get inspiration and assets quickly? Absolutely. But could you also do this by using lots of the tools that are already online? Yes. Like business cards, I don't think this is really an AI side hustle. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for profitability, but a 2 out of 10 for both simplicity and AI usage, for a total of 3 out of 10. If you want to be a full-time logo designer, then that's great, but this isn't an easy side hustle that you can get AI to do for you. Next, we have seamless patterns, and this one is super interesting. In terms of earnings and market size, I found loads of stores making estimated earnings of $5,000 to $20,000 each. There's definitely a demand for these patterns, and I think that's due to the fact that they're an absolute nightmare to make manually, so it is worth just buying them. In terms of making them, it also couldn't be easier. You just have to describe the pattern you want and add the tile flag. You do this by typing 2 hyphens, then a space, and then the word tile. And this tells Midjourney that you want to make a seamless pattern, and honestly it's insanely good. You'll sometimes get a few small details that you might want to edit, but I do actually think they're good enough straight out the tool, and people would pay for them as is. One thing to note is that you'll probably want to upscale these patterns a bit more than you can in Midjourney directly to be competitive with other listings. Fortunately, this is super easy to do, and I have a video on how you can do it that I'll link here. To test this, I created a few different styles and all of them turned out well. From floral patterns to Christmas wrapping paper patterns, they all worked pretty much immediately. They also have loads of applications in both digital and physical products. You can sell these as digital downloads, you can repurpose them to make products like wrapping paper, cushions, or kind of any textile really. And overall, I think this is one of the best uses of AI image generation that I've seen so far. The results are excellent, and this is something that's very, very time consuming to do, even if you're good at illustrations, as you have to create the images and then convert them into repeating patterns. So this is a big win for AI. In terms of scores, this gets a 9 out of 10 for simplicity. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 for profitability though, as I think this will quickly become very competitive. It gets an 8 out of 10 for AI usage, and overall gets an 8 out of 10. I think this is a great first side hustle. Okay, so next we're going to look at graphic t-shirts. So first looking at Etsy, there's quite a range of options here. You can see this is an example that I first saw in the video suggesting this as an AI side hustle, and you could make this, but you need to generate a lot of images and then combine them in a graphics tool. In terms of profitability, most sellers only have 100 or so sales, and it seems very, very competitive. You'll also have either stock costs or print on demand costs, so either way your margin is going to be much lower here, despite the higher price of these products. I tried to emulate one of the designs quickly that I saw online, and you can see that while Midjourney does a great job of creating the individual assets, in this case a white Ferrari, you'll still need to do quite a bit of graphics work to create the final product. So this isn't the simplest item on the list, as you have to be quite creative and competent in graphics software to do this one well. But if you already are, this one might be worth exploring. AI is definitely making this one much easier, as you now just need to be able to manipulate the images and text, rather than also illustrating to create the original drawings. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10 for simplicity due to the graphics requirements, but only gets a 4 out of 10 for profitability due to the competition and lower profit margins on physical products. AI usage gets a 6 out of 10 as it's definitely doing a decent portion of the job. So overall, it gets a 5 out of 10. If you're interested in fashion and want to start a store, then yes, AI can be super helpful. But otherwise, I think there's simpler and more profitable side hustles on this list. So that brings us on to colouring pages. Again, if I'm honest, this one absolutely blew my mind. You can see here that there's sellers on Etsy with over 100,000 sales and estimated profits of $250,000. So there's definitely money to be made. Your biggest challenge is going to be standing out. As AI can do 99% of the work here, you're going to need to be really creative with your prompts and make interesting packs to drive sales. You'll also need to upscale your images to make them printable full size on a normal piece of paper, so I'll link that upscaling video in the description in case you need it. To test the simplicity, I tried a couple of different graphics ideas in different styles around an Easter theme, and they all worked basically immediately. So this is one that you can definitely do with next to no graphics experience. Lots of sellers also combine this and clip art into the same store, and I think this works really well as a store setup. Overall, this gets an 8 out of 10 for profitability, again just due to the competition, an 8 out of 10 for simplicity, and a 9 out of 10 for AI usage. Unless you're a great illustrator, this product would be a nightmare to make without AI, and the fact that you can make this in seconds is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 overall, and would recommend this as a good starting point if you want to start any of these side hustles. So that's it. These are my recommendations for which side hustles you should and shouldn't try. If you'd like me to review any others, please let me know down in the comments below, and if you try any of these out, I'd love to hear how they went. If you want to get started with these but aren't sure how to get set up and use Midjourney, you can check out this video here. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.